Moreover, another problem that tests their sanity is how they will hold their thirst, so some kids sip on the wall where water is streaming down. And there's Honka, who wears a red dress and sleeps for a bit. On February 1945, one night in Grossrosen, heinous and fatal moments happened in the concentration camp right after the liberation, and it is said that it was some evacuation. However, it seems like there is still a fire of numerous gunshots, prisoners are under the control of Nazis, and torture still reigns. There's also a ravenous wolfhound who brutally feasts a woman mercilessly. Somehow, a young boy named Wladek, looking out through the window pane, stoically watches how Nazis do such murderous activities. But then, one Nazi happens to find the boy and the other young prisoners. They were hiding, scared and anxious about Nazis' brutality. Then, Wladek comes forward, does some push-ups, and goes up like a trained dog. Every child in the room does how the Nazis command their dogs instead of feeling the murderous bloodshot. A foggy morning comes up as a handful band of Russian soldiers come up to inspect the Grossrosen camp. One soldier bounded to catch some children still doing the doggo commando act, and he was surprised. With that, he takes the children off the camp and drives them somewhere in a forest where there is still an abandoned somewhere safe and sound, and after a while on their trip, a young boy named Kraut joins them. As they take off in an abandoned house, some children channel their anger and frustration to an innocent mouse. They scream, shriek, and are full of rage. But all along, they are just playing because they are one step closer to freedom as far as they know. Meanwhile, Kraut inspects the abandoned mansion and catches a glimpse of Wladek. He proceeds to roam around the house. In the kitchen, the owner, Jadwiga, and Wladek's fellow prisoner, Honka, who is in her 20s, talk about the atrocities and suffering they have felt in the camp. She also tells Jadwiga that she will return to Warsaw and start her new life there, and Wladek hears their conversation and feels sad. Jadwiga offers some old underwear and potatoes, which Honka gladly accepts it. However, the main problem these kids will need is more food. With so much food needs to be retrieved because of the war, these children might experience some hunger and thirst. With that, Jadwiga opens a can with a label of dog food on it. The children seem so hungry that a single can of dog food was a feast for them with an image of savagery and a human disposition of survival. Outside the mansion, the kids goof around while Wladek is alone in the forest and playing golf. While playing, he sees a corpse lying in the woods. He is very curious about the enigmatic state, but then it feels alive, for it is moving. Later at night, Kraut is keen to get out of the house. Wladek sees him, but he insists on silencing him. As he leaves his bed, Kraut steals some food and is eager to get out into the forest. But as he runs away to the house, a wolfhound surprises him like a ravenous maniac. But as the morning comes, Jadwiga and Honka find him climbing in the tree, and he is fatally wounded. As they return home, Honka stitches his open wound. Later, the children have something decent to eat, potatoes, and Jadwiga divides it. In the case of Wladek, there is some gut feeling that this boy is jealous of Honka and Kraut's growing relationship. Speaking of Wladek, he returns to the forest, where he plays golf, and to his surprise, the lying corpse is still there, and he is eager to touch it. On the other hand, the other kids go around the forest, with the others searching for something in the grass. They are just curious, playful kids who want to be free. Meanwhile, Jadwiga and the cute kid, Dolly, are getting close. She insists that Dolly accompany her and try to find something entirely harvested. Later on, the kids go out to the dim and bleak forest. As they walk to approach their home, Kraut stumbles, only to happen that they see Jadwiga's bloodbath corpse with a fleshy scratch on her neck and face. It is a horrible, terrible, and gory sight, with all of them painting an expression of fear and awe. Because they feel they are in danger, the children run as fast as they can and find Dolly hiding away from the beast. The children have nowhere to cling to, and Jadwiga is dead, so Honka is the only person they can rely on. As they returned home, the house was dark, abysmal, and bound to create some chaotic mess. They prepare for some beast and feast attack because they sense that the danger is near and just hiding somewhere. But then, as their faces are full of fear, the Russians expectedly come, and they see Lanka smiling while holding 2 bottles of beer. Later on, Honka and the 2 soldiers are drinking liquor in the dining room, and the only light they have is from the luminous image of the candle. Lanka then becomes very drunk. On the other hand, the other officer goes to the mansion to light a cigarette. Still, the area feels so ominous, dark, and dangerous. It feels like something is wrong here, a beastly and ferocious jungle. As the officer walks by, the wolfhound bites and scratches him like his flesh is similar to paper. On a trigger warning scale, a glimpse of Honka and Lanka through the eyes of Wladek seems a sexual presupposition of gaze. There is no such connectivity but a gaze of a drunken soldier who wants pleasure. In that case, Honka slaps Lanka twice. Still, a one punch that Honka feels seems like a letdown and powerful possession of the dominant and opposing force. Wladek sees what is happening, and he's just there, watching. Honka begs for Wladek, but he seems to be on the side of the abuser as he smiles, closes the door, and shuts it down. But not without a moment, Kraut surprisingly enters and punches Wladek, then opens the door and fights Lanka. But Lanka escapes and goes outside the mansion. Kraut tries to chase him until Lanka is mobbed by a pack of ferocious wolfhounds, as these dogs scratch up his body like a beast with no mercy. Lanka pukes blood, his flesh is scratched, and he is helpless. However, a single wolfhound manages to enter the mansion, and Dolly catches a glimpse of a vile dog. As fear rushes inside her, she quickly runs away yet luckily escapes the beastly dog. Honka hugs her like she wants to protect Dolly at all costs. Meanwhile, they lock up the door where a wolfhound barkingly resides. With that, the wolfhounds scatter around the mansion like they are eager to track down and wait for their harmless prey. One morning, Kraut opens the door, and Honka goes outside to see if wolfhounds are peeping in. But sure enough, a beast will show its true colors anytime and anywhere. As of now, in the group specs, Honka and Kraut seem to be the leader, someone who is reliable. Honka is like a motherly figure, while Kraut has a power in a physical sense that might make them get out of this mansion and be free with these ravenous dogs. However, Wladek seems an outsider now, frustrated, and maybe because he is bounded by jealousy. However, the children have nowhere to go now, for there are no adults or soldiers to come and rescue them. Both are enemies, and their cooperation and strength are the only safe zone they can weaponize as a tool for survival. Meanwhile, Wladek comes out on the screen and tests himself on the beast. He slowly opens the door, and at some point, he tries to let his fingers cut the chase. As far as he remembers, these wolfhounds were from Nazis, and these animal instincts and minds were wired to be loyal to them. So he does some doggo commando up and down. On the other hand, Wladek seems frustrated in his emotion, for there is a single night when he conquers the sleeping quarters. As he stares at Honka, who sleeps peacefully, he knows what he wants. After that, he rages his anger as he sees Kraut sleeping, thinking of doing something shady to him. The following day, a dog suddenly pops out of the window and goes inside the mansion, but luckily the door is sealed shut. The dog is all alone and away from his pack. However, the children have more significant problems to face, and it is now happening that the shortage of food and water becomes nothing but air anymore. They are hungry like these ravenous wolfhounds and like a beast dealing with savagery. With that, they must eat every food they have stolen and gather them into one to keep their survival rate. Moreover, Kraut tries to make some commands to the hounds, and it seems like Wladek is behind him, where he is actually suspicious. Some part of him wants to push Kraut, but he can't, so he still keeps his sanity stable yet confusing. But then, later at night, Wladek fearlessly comes to the wolfhound and puts off his prisoner coat because he thinks that the dogs despise the Jews as how Nazis trained them. Wladek goes outside, and it seems better and more efficient, as he theorized. As he ventures out, he quenches his thirst by drinking some water he finds outside and even takes a bath to replenish his sanity. Wladek finds some hidden bunker where he feels like a human is living outside the mansion. It just so happens that he finds some food cans and a burning lamp that illuminates the room, and with that, he steals the food. But then, as the morning comes and he wants to redeem himself for his mistakes, he lays the stolen food can on the table. The children are surprised, but then he delivers a toxic can, the grease from the gas. Moreover, another problem that tests their sanity is how they will hold their thirst, so some kids sip on the wall where water is streaming down. And there's Honka, who wears a red dress and sleeps for a bit. She was hopelessly dreaming of being more alive, getting out of here, and starting a new life. But Wladek interrupts her with neither sexual nor romantic curiosity. Honka then wakes up and sees him staring at her, so she slaps him. After that, Wladek goes to see Kraut, where he sees how he does some doggo commands to them. Wladek teaches Kraut the proper way and position, but Kraut thinks of it as a joke. However, Kraut positions himself to investigate what happened to the Russian soldiers, thinking if they make it out alive, Lanka is dead, and no one will ever save them. With that, they act out within their plan. On the other hand, some kids entertain the wild dogs while Kraut runs away to confuse them. Meanwhile, Honka goes outside and runs to get to the truck. Luckily she gets in the car all the while, a wolfhound is chasing her. The insanity of Wladek loses as he grinningly smiles when Kraut is begging for help because the wild dogs are nearly closer to chasing him. He sees what is happening but locks the door and refuses to help Kraut because of jealousy. But when he sees Kraut in the other window, he runs and immediately goes outside and never looks back again. Luckily, Kraut is still alive and kicking in. Meanwhile, the rain showers the whole mansion where the kids trace their thirst, and there is Wladek, who punishes himself by doing how the Nazis would impose sanctions on him. After the rain pours down, Wladek returns to the bunker he discovered. Still, as soon as he steps back, a familiar man strangles and drags him inside the bunker. Moreover, a single hound is hiding in the room, and it is still alive but barely breathing because of the gas. All the children go to investigate but decide not to kill it. Instead, they make the captured hound one of their allies, and with that, they take off their prisoner clothes and wear decent ones so these Nazi-trained dogs would not identify their smell. Kraut faces the pack of dogs while holding his captured one and commands them just like Wladek taught him. The following day, Wladek returns to the mansion and discovers that his friends are gone. There is no glimpse of them, and he is alone in a dark, messy abandoned mansion. But as soon as he tucks himself into a lonely home, a Nazi soldier inspects the mansion. He finds out that Jews infiltrated this abandoned house as he sees the clothes lying on the floor. The Nazi soldier then hears the trail of sounds that a prisoner is hiding somewhere. On the other hand, Kraut and the gang search for Wladek, but there is a trace of him in the forest. They still care for their friend, and even though Wladek has done many things to Kraut, he never hesitates but immediately returns to the house to check if his friend is still there. But then the vile Nazi was choking and strangling Wladek until he could barely breathe. Still, as soon as Kraut sees what is happening, he hits the soldier's head and holds Wladek's hand as they run together. Unfortunately, the Nazi still chases them, but he fails, for there is still an ounce of sanity with the kids and the true evil. The true Beelzebub of this moment is us, not the dogs but humans themselves. With that, these kids survive, but what can humans do to be alive? It is the self amidst savagery, evil, and insanity. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more videos like this to help the channel out. Have a nice day.